Okay, Dr. Friedman, sorry about that.
Sure.
Can you?
Let me finish what I was saying, which is
Okay.
that I discovered long after I wrote that up, I discovered that another economist in a book had made the same argument in a much longer form. It was sort of quite a neat story, but it was like a 2 or 3 or 4 page story. And it was an entertaining story, but it wasn't the sort of thing that somebody would read, say, "Isn't this a clever idea? Let me tell my friend about it." Whereas mine is, because mine is, growing Hondas. It's a paragraph, roughly speaking. So that's a case where taking a moderately complicated idea, what economists call the principle of comparative advantage, which most people don't understand, including most people who think they know what it means, but are wrong, uh, and putting it in a easily repeatable form actually results in more free information out there. So that just inventing that may, for all I know, have increased by 1% the number of people who understand why tariffs are a bad thing. So that sort of approach, but there isn't a magic button. There isn't a way of sort of making everybody understand and believe in market systems. And as I say, Rand was probably one of the most effective people in that respect. So was my father. So were a number of other people who did a very good job of making the arguments. But there are unfortunately lots of other people on the other side. Uh, Let me, though, since you're an admirer of Rand, let me point to why Rand should be an anarchist, though she wasn't. And that is that she has the problem of how to fund a government without initiating coercion, which she believes is wrong.
Yes.
Her solution is that the government provides the service of retaliatory force, of things like enforcing contracts, and charges for it. And that's supposed to be enough to fund the government. The problem is that they aren't going to be providing retaliatory force. It's a market service. It costs to do it. Why do you expect to make a profit on it? Why do you expect to be able to get paid much more for it than it costs to do? And the answer is because she's assuming it's going to be a monopoly. But there's no reason why it should be a monopoly. Other people could use retaliatory force too. And then the argument which those of her supporters I've discussed with come up with is that it is legitimate to keep other people from exerting a retaliatory force even while the government does. And that makes no sense, because either providing retaliatory force either is a rights violation or it isn't. And if it isn't a rights violation, the government's not entitled to suppress it. And if it is a rights violation, the government's not entitled to do it. So that's why it seems to me this is an argument which somebody who was more of an objectivist than I was, I think, first pointed out, Roy Childs.
I just finished his book, Liberty Against Power.
I have not read that book. I knew Roy. He was a bright guy, somewhat crazy, but bright. But my point is only that it seems to be an argument which implies that objectivists on their principles have to be anarchists. Now, you can get out of it by dropping the principles. You can say what I think is a defensible position, what would be, I think, my father's position, that it's too bad that governments have to violate rights, but the alternative is to have lots of private people violating rights if we don't have a government, and therefore it's the least bad solution. That's defensible, but that's not, I think, an argument that Rand was ever willing to make.
No. Before I let you go, speaking of your father, the first economics book I ever read was Free to Choose. And it sparked my interest in economics. That was about 24 years ago. And I've been reading in economics ever since. And he convinced me of the point that people consider a trade deficit a bad thing if you're importing more than you're exporting. And he made the point very strongly that no, it's precisely you're losing your exports. It's not a good thing. You're getting imports at the expense of your exports. Well, before I let you go, is there anything that you want us to know, or where can people find you?
Well, the first place to find me is on my webpage. I've got the full text of most of my articles and a fair number of my books on the webpage where you can read them for free. And that's daviddfriedman.com. You need the middle initial because somebody else got David Friedman first. I also have a Substack. So if you look for David Friedman's Substack, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's something like that. It will show you uh, whatever I've done. And I've been posting every other day. I may or may not be able to keep up that rate, but it's got quite a lot of things already, and there will be more things there. So those are the main places. Oh, and I have a blog, which I'm not really posting to anymore since I started doing the Substack, but the blog's archive has something like 15 years or 16 years of blog posts on lots and lots of different subjects.
Thank you very much for being here, Dr. Friedman. I hope you'll join us again. Till
Probably.
next time, I'm Michael Liebowitz, the Rational Egoist. Take
Thank you.
care.